Welcome back. So this is session 9 of the 10 series. I'm always amazed how quickly 10 weeks go. So it's been lovely to see all of you returning for all of these sessions because they really do build on each other. And so it's super helpful to be kind of dedicated, right? To really get the full benefit. And so today builds a lot on session 8 in that we will continue with lifting our heart, opening our heart, and also with our theme of sort of opening ourselves up in a spacious way. Session 9, of course, is dedicated to the 8th limb of yoga, which is samadhi or absorption, or this sort of spacious realization that we are all connected. It's kind of not a practice, this 8th limb of yoga. It's more of an experience, and it has to happen spontaneously. So while we're dedicating this practice to it, we are not going to practice samadhi in the way we might practice meditation, but we're going to invite a mind state, a spaciousness, a meditative awareness, meditative compassion, meditative wisdom, that is the foundation for the experience of samadhi. And so if you have an inkling today of samadhi, wow, that's awesome. And if you don't, that's like totally what I would expect, right? Samadhi hits you at the unexpected moments. It doesn't hit you when you're trying to create it. And yet we can still dedicate a practice to it. And so that's what we're doing. So today's practice builds on the idea of karma, which, as you recall from last week, is the law of cause and effect. It is the law that we observe in the practice of taking a break between stimulus and response, so that in that pause, we can make a discerning decision about how we want to respond to whatever happened in this moment. So that we step out of our habits, we step out of our routine sort of reactivity, and we become discerningly, wisely, compassionately, spaciously responsive instead. And so what lies at that moment of discernment is the switch over from having transformed unskillful mental fluctuations or emotional fabrications, and instead stepping into skillful mental fabrications, as the Buddhists would call it. And so we move from the more outer practices, well, and inner practices of figuring out what's happening in our emotions, in our mind, what's our reactive, habitual, routine, sort of samskaric reactivity. And now what we're using in that moment of discernment that happens as karma unfolds is our mature emotions, our wise decision-making, our mental fabrications that are actually skillful. And those are called in yoga the Brahma Viharas. They're also called the Brahma Viharas in Buddhism. But my favorite translation is mature emotions, because if you remember sort of the kosha model, we become more and more outer-centric. We become less and less selfish as we move through our yoga practice. And at the point that we develop the Brahma Viharas, the mature emotions, our decision-making is no longer driven by our own selfish or sort of survival needs, but instead our decision-making is now driven by our existential imperative, by our turning outward to meet the world with compassion, with loving kindness, with altruistic joy, with equanimity. And those just happen to be the mature emotions, the Brahma Viharas. Excuse me. So to me, one of the primary things that emerges when you move into a state of mature emotions is your own capacity for resilience. And equanimity, that capacity, I'm so sorry, but I have a tickle in my throat. I need to grab some water. So equanimity is really about finding peace. Sorry, wow, I don't know what's happening. During that moment of challenge. And so it's the ultimate of resilience. When you can keep your cool and something really tough is happening, and you can keep your cool long enough that then you can make a discerning choice about how you want to respond, that's true equanimity. That's true resilience. And from there comes our capacity for compassion, our capacity for loving kindness, our capacity for altruistic joy. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what is happening to me right now. And so those are the Brahma Viharas. Those are the mature emotions, right? Those are the ways of being in the world that move you outward in your decision making, away from selfishness, away from unskillful action, away from unskillful emotion, away from reacting out of survival needs, and instead responding out of an existential love for that greater unity, that experience that you have when you enter samadhi, that recognition of profound connection, of everything you do having tremendous impacts and ripple effects for everyone. So that's what we will work with today. And so you can understand why we're doing another heart-opening practice, because this is really what we cultivate when we move into the outer koshas of the self. And so just like last week, we will start in a supine position. If you enjoyed that, that heart opening that we did last week, you might roll up a blanket and roll your spine down on that blanket in the same way that we did last week. Like this, and possibly tucking it under at the top to give your head a slight lift. If this was not comfortable for you, you can choose any supine position with a slight lift under the chest. So you could incline your bolster, or you could lean against a chair or a wall. And if that isn't comfortable, you can just come to a seat. So use your own wise decision-making, your own compassion for your own body, and a way of finding sort of loving kindness for your physical being as you settle yourself in, so that we can start with another breathing practice. And so as you settle yourself into position, whichever position you chose, invite your body to let go. Invite your body to ground into the earth. You might choose to close your eyes, or maybe you keep a downcast gaze, still being visually aware of your environment, but without scanning it or without trying to explore it. Gently scan your body in whichever direction feels auspicious from you, from the inside out, from the outside in, top to bottom or bottom to top. And use the breath to bring ease to any part of your physical being that is having a hard time moving into the present moment. where your scan is maybe detecting a slight bit of tension or unease. Using the breath to bring loving kindness, to bring compassion to those places without an expectation for change, but simply to carry compassion and love into those parts of you. You might very lovingly take note of the fact that it is through this physical experience that you've been given, through this human body that's animated by this precious breath, that you can take this journey through maturing, through finding compassion, loving kindness, joy, equanimity. It is through being embodied as a human being that you can grow outward and have experiences of spaciousness, of wisdom, of union. And so the first place to which to direct the mature emotions is always your own self. Your body, your breath, your mind, your emotions. And then from there, you carry your compassion, your loving kindness, your joy outward into your relationships and your community. And so as your body settles into this moment, invite the breath to do the same. Invite the breath to settle into a rhythm of equanimity, a rhythm of compassion and loving kindness for your body and your mind. And as you invite your breath to let go, to find this sweetness, invite a spaciousness into your experience of this moment. A spaciousness that lets you see the entirety of you, even as you are watching your own breath as it moves in and out. You have this amazing capacity as a human being to be both concentrated on your breath and to be spaciously aware of the greater context. Maybe you can feel that in this moment, maybe you can't. It doesn't matter. You simply can trust that this is a capacity within you. That through watching the breath, you can stay sufficiently centered to make discerning choices guided by your wisdom. And at the same time, stay fully aware of the context, your own body, your own mind, but also your relationships and the needs of others. That is the true feature of the outer koshas. And this is ultimately what lays the foundation for experiences of samadhi. And so lovingly and compassionately keep watching your breath, your inhalation, the pause at the top of the breath, your exhalation, the pause at the bottom of the breath. Appreciating the centering and grounding presence of your breath. This biofeedback mechanism that is available to you anytime, anywhere. To keep you mindful, to keep you concentrated at the same time that your awareness becomes spacious. That you can begin to see the consequences of your actions, not just in your own life, but in the lives of others. Continue to watch your breath, inhaling, pausing, exhaling, pausing. And as you breathe in this way, feel your sense of compassion, of loving kindness, of equanimity, sweeping not just through your own body and mind, but reaching outward into your relationships and into your community. Take 2 to 4 more rounds of breath. And gently begin to contemplate your journey back to a seat. Perhaps setting an intention not to abandon the concentration on the breath, to bring with you as you transition this grounding action of being fully present for your inhalation and your exhalation. Feeling the fullness of your heart as you inhale and begin your transition perhaps to one side. And feeling your compassion stream outward as you find a seat and exhale. And once you have found your seat, choose your hand position and gently bow your head to your heart. And as you bow your head to your heart, draw an intentional inhalation to lift your heart toward your hands. Feeling the opening of your heart as you breathe here with compassion, with loving kindness, and with altruistic joy for the good in other people's lives. And then from that place of emotional maturity, invite an intention for your time on the mat today. If it feels auspicious, breathe that intention into your wide open heart. And then exhale that intention out into your world. And if they were lifted, gently release your hands. If they were closed, open your eyes and lift your focus. And go ahead and remove your props from your mat if you were using them. And we will meet in tabletop. If you have sensitive knees, you can always bring a blanket across your mat where the knees will land. We will be moving around quite a bit, but we will spend some time on the knees. So be compassionate for your body, treat it with loving kindness, and give it the supports that it needs. As you place your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. And as you invite your spine to find a beautiful neutral position, which is of course not a straight position. And we'll start with just a few cows and cats in the traditional way. So inhaling, letting the belly drop toward the floor, exhaling, letting it rise into cat. And just let yourself compassionately breathe here. This is a beautiful way to stay connected to your inhalation, the pause at the top, your exhalation, and the pause at the bottom. And then the next time you are in cat, when you breathe in, find neutral and walk your hands a little bit out in front of you, maybe 1.5 hands lengths or so. And we will continue to take cows and cats, but this time when we come into cow, we come into sort of a cowish half plank. So a little bit of a banana back here. And as you exhale, you bring your cat way long like this, so that the heart is really open as we move both into cow and cat. And so really move from the heart here. So not so much from the navel like we do when we're in tabletop, but you're really keeping the heart open in both directions. This is sort of a physical way of understanding that even as our life around us changes, as the demand characteristics change of how we are in the world, we can keep our heart open. Even when we look like we're down, like we are here in this sort of cat shape, the heart stays open, the shoulder blades stay low on the back, and our heart lifts. That's the Brahma Viharas embodied, right, is a lifted heart. And we can do this in almost any position, even when we're fully upside down or when we're in a forward fold. After your next sort of cat arch here, you'll come back to neutral in tabletop. So the hands will probably walk back a little bit under the shoulders. And then from here, we move into some slight side stretches, but again, not in the typical way. We're going to switch everything up today, creating new ways of being. So we'll start here by reaching the left foot across the right leg, and you'll touch the foot down. On the opposite side, you could touch the knee down as well, so whatever feels more comfortable for you. And then you will take the right hand and bring it across to the left. And so you're making kind of a long stretch here from the right hip to the right fingertips, but sort of energetically also from the left toes to the right fingertips. And then inhale and rise up with the hand, but keep the foot or both feet where they are, and now reach the left hand across to the right. So now you're making more of a C curve. And so now you're stretching from the left hip to the left fingertips, and you're curling into a C shape. Next time you inhale, reach the left hand back up. The legs still aren't moving, and we're going to just Repeat that sequence one more time. So right hand reaches to the left. You're making a long stretch. Next time you inhale, lift up and make your C shape by reaching the left arm to the right. And then this time when you inhale and come up, bring the hand and the foot back to tabletop. And then just take a moment to recalibrate to your breath, to bring back your spaciousness, and to keep your heart lifted. And notice how, having made a different choice in how to open the side body in tabletop, reverberates through all of your layers. And then we'll switch to the other side. So now you'll reach the right foot across the left side, and you can be on the foot or you can be on the knee, whatever feels better, and the two sides may not be the same. And then you take the left hand and you reach across to the right to make this long stretch now in the left side body. So you're stretching from the left hip to the left fingertips. And energetically, you're also stretching from the right toes to the left fingertips. Notice if your heart can stay lifted and open here. And then inhale, reach the hand up. Exhale, switch sides. Right hand reaches across to the left. And now you're making a big C curve with your body. And how can you keep your heart open here in this seemingly very closed position? With your inhalation, lift up. Reach the left across to the right. Long stretch, open heart. Next time you inhale, reach the left hand back and then reach the right hand across to come into your C curve. Next time you inhale, come back to tabletop, find your neutral. Find your lifted heart. Maybe readjust the shoulder blades on your back, retracting them toward the spine, maybe moving them down the spine. Beautifully open here, even though you're facing down. And then once again, touch the left foot across to the right side. It'll be off your mat. And bring your weight into your right hand and then open yourself up into a bit of a twist here. If this is too much on your hand, you can be on your forearm. And then if you would like some movement here, as you exhale, you can reach down, pause. As you inhale, you reach up. And so you can make a little flow out of this. And you can open the heart as much as you want here. So you could literally turn your chest toward your ceiling if you feel like it. There's no requirement. So find your own range of motion here. Maybe you're only bringing the arm out to the side. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that energetically your heart is lifted. And if you are flowing, let this be your last time of reaching up. And then everyone, whether you're still, whether you were flowing or just stayed up, with your next exhalation, release yourself down into tabletop. And this time, before we switch sides, just take a couple of gentle cows and cats here to dispel any tension that may have crept into the body so that you stay compassionate and loving toward your physical being, right? Tuning in to what it is that you need. The Buddhists say that the most praiseworthy person is the person who first takes care of all of their own needs, and then also takes care of the needs of others. So directing the Brahma Viharas to yourself and others. And the second most praiseworthy person is the person who directs the Brahma Viharas just to themselves. And the third most praiseworthy is the one who directs it just to other people. I think that's a really interesting order to ponder. All right, and now we'll step the right foot across to the left side of the mat when we switch sides. And then same procedure, other side, right? You can choose how far you open up here, whether you stay open or whether you flow, or maybe you flow for a while and then stay open. These are discerning choices you will make based on your compassion, your loving kindness for your own body. And notice that one of the Brahma Viharas is altruistic joy. And so it really is about finding the fun in your practice too. Because if there's no fun in the practice, what really keeps you motivated? Especially early on. And so make this joyful. Make this a joyful expression of your lifted, open heart, your own capacity to keep your heart open, your emotions mature no matter what your outer circumstances. And then no matter where you are, the next time you exhale, release the hands, have the hand down, and find your tabletop position yet again. Take a couple of cats and cows. If you'd like, you can take that longer stance that we took earlier and flow into this sort of planky cow, and this longer stretched open cat. Let's do a couple of these. And the next time you come up, find your neutral position in the spine and then step your hands one hand's length worth forward ahead of you. Curl your toes under and then really think about a lifted heart here. Starting with an open heart, starting with compassion, with love, with joy, with that outward expression of the Brahma Viharas. Move the hips back toward the heels, press the hips up, let the legs move towards straight, and push back into a downward dog. And take this downward dog with a joyful heart, an open heart, which might mean that your knees are bent, or it might mean that you're pedaling out your feet. But whatever shape you take here, take it with an open heart. Let your shoulder blades be down on your back, moving toward the spine. Retracting and depressing the shoulder blades keeps your heart open here. And then just enjoy this beautiful shape in your body and find your breath. Find your inhalation, maybe a pause at the top of the breath, your exhalation, and maybe a pause at the bottom of the breath. From here, before you move anywhere, make a compassionate decision about how you will move to bring your right foot forward to be by your right hand while you're keeping your left foot back. And so you have options here. You could bring your right leg way up, reach onto your tippy toes joyfully, and then step the right foot forward. Or you could call a cab to bring that right foot forward, right? Whatever works for you. And then let the left heel come to the floor so that the left foot is fully on the ground. So you're kind of opening, rolling open that back leg. And then use maybe the momentum of your left arm to swing yourself up into a warrior two. but a joyful warrior two, a warrior two with an open heart. And if you really want to double check that you have an open heart here, I invite you to take your thumbs, if they can do it, and reach them into your armpits. I know this sounds really odd. And let your hands lift your heart here. So yeah, it's almost like making a little back bend in warrior. It looks almost like we're buckling here a little bit, but we're doing it on purpose. And then once you have that heart lifted, then you can find the strength again in the core. Drawing the low ribs in, firing your serratus anterior. You're curious, right, about what we're doing here. And then from that integration with an open heart, whew, let the arms travel outward and find your strength. Find your resilience. Remember, resilience is the foundation of equanimity. Joyful warrior. We're going to make it even more peaceful and joyful by bringing the left hand to the back of the left thigh, turning the right palm up, and then opening the heart even more. You find your range of motion here. You find your expression of this peaceful warrior. This joyful, compassionate warrior who will take engaged action for the good of the world. Who will apply mature emotions to all circumstances. With your next exhalation, let that right arm travel all the way down so that the elbow lands on top of the right thigh. And take the left hand and invite it onto your sacrum, and once again, roll your heart open. If you want to double check that your heart is open, you can take the left thumb, shoop, use it to roll the chest open, and then you can settle it back on your back. You have choices here. This can be where you stay, heart wide open, compassionate, or you might choose to bring the arms straight up. It's really up to you. Maybe even inviting a little bit more opening once the arm is lifted, or maybe the arm travels up and overhead. If it does, don't let it collapse your heart. Keep your heart open here. Today is all about keeping an open heart, staying loving, staying kind, staying compassionate. With your next exhalation, let your left arm travel all the way to the ground. Bend the back knee to the ground and find your blocks if you would like them. It's not a requirement. As we find ourselves in a lunge with the back knee down. And then here, as you inhale, move the forward leg towards straight. We're taking a little pyramid lunge flow, only this time with the back knee on the ground. And just pay attention to your open heart here as you move forward. And keeping the heart open even as you move back. The next time you come forward, just bring the knee above the ankle. And then lift the torso up, if that's accessible to you. If you would like to stay on the blocks, you can. And then once again, you can take your thumbs into your armpits or wherever they fit. You could take your hands and put them on your rib cage. That'll work too if the thumbs don't reach into the armpits. And open the heart and then draw the low ribs in so that you're strong and yet open-hearted at the same time. If you would like, you can bring the arms behind you into that yoga mudra seal that we did last time. Your choice. But the hands can also rest on the forward thigh. Or wherever they want to be, they could be lifted. You make your own decision about what feels auspicious for you. And then the next time you breathe out, return forward, let yourself Really descend into this lunge. And then step the right knee back to the left. Move your blocks off to the side. Walk the hands just ahead of where they would be in tabletop. Curl the toes under. And then joyfully lift the hips back toward the heels. Press through the hands and come back into your downward facing dog. Your choice of variations here. Maybe you're pedaling the heels out. Maybe you're bending the knees. Maybe you're even in puppy pose, right? On your knees and your forearms. Or maybe you take this wide open variation. Lifting that left leg, maybe opening it up. Anywhere you want to go here with this warrior, with this downward dog. Joyfully embracing whatever is accessible to your body. And then when you feel ready, make that journey of letting the left foot travel forward to the left hand. Yeah, beautiful. I'm going to switch sides. Settle yourself in for a moment and then drop the right heel, to the ground. Take the right arm and let it generate momentum. That joyfully brings you to warrior two. And you now have your prompt to check if your heart is open. So if you would like to use it, you're absolutely welcome. The other beautiful thing that you have with Zoom is that you can see yourself on the screen if you have your camera on. And so check if your shoulders are above your hips. There's nothing magical about it, but from an energetic perspective, I like to joke that if your warrior's here, you're reaching into the future. You're not really centered in the present. If your warrior's there, you're heading on to the past. And so just experiment with being right here in the present moment, centered directly above your hips. And then descend the right palm to the back of the right thigh, turn the left palm up, and then reach up. Peaceful warrior, joyful warrior. Embrace your own strength, embrace your own maturity, embrace your own resilience, and find joy. Find joy in this expression. Breathe into it. Taking any variation that's auspicious for you. Taking care of you first, so that then you can take care of your community. The next time you exhale, let that left arm travel down so that the elbow lands somewhere above the knee on the left thigh. Bring the right hand to your sacrum and roll your heart open. If you need your little prompt, you have it now. If you don't need it, you can let that right hand settle on your back. And then from here, you decide what's auspicious for you in this side angle shape, right? Does your hand stay on your back? Does it reach straight up, reaching out into the world? Does the heart stay open here? As long as it does, all is well, right? Doesn't matter what anything looks like, as long as your heart's open. Do you want to reach forward? If you don't lose your open heart, that might be a beautiful way to embody this shape. It's all up to you. And then the next time you exhale, let that right hand travel all the way to the floor. Let the right heel come up and the right knee touch down. And grab your blocks. For Anjaneyasana on the other side. So we're doing the same thing as you inhale or exhale, your choice. You move into a pyramid shape in this lunge, And then with the opposite breath, you move forward, opening the heart. Just moving back and forth a few times. And then the next time you rise up, if it serves you, lift the torso away from the blocks, open the heart. You might take a little bit of a back bend here, maybe more so than you did the first time around. If you would like, you could let the arms dangle behind you, maybe bring them into Yoga Mudra, maybe adding more back bend, maybe being upright right here. Whatever is auspicious for you in terms of keeping an open heart, staying compassionate, staying loving for your own body. With your next inhalation, travel up and replace the hands on the blocks. Step your left knee back and release down into a child's pose to rest for a moment. I invite you to take this child's pose with your knees open, because if you keep the knees open here, your heart stays open as you descend between your legs. If that's not comfortable, then by all means, don't do that. Instead, embrace whatever version of child's pose is compassionate for you. And just rest for a moment, just to recover from the vigor of those joyful standing poses. And then gently slide the hands underneath your shoulders and bring yourself back up. Walking the knees together if you had them wide apart, and then move forward and find a half plank shape. So this time we're not making a banana shape like we did at the beginning. So we're not doing this thing, this cow-like thing that we did earlier, but this time you're keeping the heart open, and you can have your imaginary trick here of the thumbs in your armpits to create that. But at the same time now, you're really engaging the low ribs in so that you're making a nice neutral line here in your spine. Building strength, because the mature emotions really require resilience. They require strength. There's really nothing soft about compassion and loving kindness. They're really all about fortitude. And so develop this here, this fortitude in plank pose. And then you have choices. You can take a couple of dips here, where you're bringing the elbows toward the side of your body to dip down and maybe lift back up. Or you can just come down all the way to the ground and stay there and enjoy a rest for a moment. But just explore what is possible for you here with an open heart. How much resilience, how much fortitude is there in this place for you? Can you take a few chaturanga dips? And if so, just how many do you want to take, right? What kind of load do you want to place on your body? And after you've maybe enjoyed a couple more of these, the next time you move down toward the ground, release your way down all the way to the floor. And just in case you kind of scrunch yourself up a little bit, kind of walk your hips away from your shoulders to make your spine nice and long. And then notice where your shoulders are. Are they shrugging up toward your ears? In other words, did you lose your open heart? And if so, take a little shoulder roll to plant those scapulae back on your back, toward the spine and down the back. Open heart. And then float the hands in the air, but let the core lift you up. Find your own strength for any expression here of cobra pose. If you would like, you can press into the hands and lift up a little higher. It's your choice. Play with your expression here of cobra, but the main determinant of where you find your shape is whether your heart stays open, right? If you start to collapse, you've gone too far. That's not auspicious. That's not compassionate. And so just notice where you want to be. Maybe you even want to take a variation where the arms are behind you on your back. Explore a little bit and see if you can engender some joy in the process, right? This is a tough pose, and yet it's a very joyful pose. And so play a little. Can even play with which muscles you squeeze. Like you might notice this is easier if you pull the low ribs into your body. You might notice it's easier if you clip your toenails into the ground. You might notice it's easier if you actually engage your glutes. And so just notice, how can you find this amazing back bend in a way that it embodies compassion, loving kindness, and joy? And so that you're not losing your equanimity, your peace, right? And then ultimately find your way back down to the floor, bring the hands out in front of you, make a little pillow with your hands, and rest very sweetly. You could also rest on your back, right? If the sweetness of being on your belly is kind of lost on you, you can always find something that's auspicious for you. And if you have your face turned one way, this might be a good time to switch sides. And then go ahead and face forward. And let your arms be your support here for a moment. As you might want to find your strap. Remember the little sandal we made last week where you put the strap on your foot around your ankle and then you fed it between your toes like this. You can choose to do this again. And then you come back onto your belly and have the long end of the strap handy. And just as we used that long strap last time in the lunge pose to bring the leg up, we will now do this on our belly. And so you have choices in terms of arm placement. If you're feeling like, okay, this has been a tough practice, you might just lay your head on the ground like this. And then you can use this strap, whichever side you put it on. I didn't tell you which side, so it doesn't matter, to bring that leg up toward your buttock on the same side. And so it's really a nice way to have this strap because you're really just passively opening the front of the leg that has the sandal on the foot. And you can be completely relaxed in the rest of your body. Literally, your head can be on the ground, or it could be on your hand or your forearm. If you are not feeling like you're working hard enough, you could be in Sphinx with the forearm across, or you could even be in a lifted cobra. Now, let the foot strain against the strap so that the foot is pulling back at the same time that you are drawing the strap forward, so that you're creating a lot of action in the leg with the bent knee. Do you feel that? That's wise action. That's compassionate action. That's really creating a lot of isometric work in the front of that leg. And so enjoy that sense of creating resilience here. And then very gently begin to ease up on that side. Release the leg down. And then either rest for a moment, or if you're ready to switch sides right away, you can press yourself around to remove the strap. And place it on the other foot. Same idea, around the ankle, between the big toe and the index toe. And then find your way back onto your belly. Bring that strap along. And then settle yourself in. And you might take a break first before you move anywhere. Make a decision about how you want to rest here. Maybe your face, one cheek is on the floor, or maybe it's on your left forearm or your left hand. Make a conscious, wise, compassionate decision. And then grab that strap with the same hand as the side where the sandal is. And use the strap to draw ever closer to the buttock. Don't yank on the strap, right? This is a very slow, gentle, compassionate, loving way of drawing the foot close to the buttock, so that you're slowly and gently feeling the opening of the front of that leg. And then strain the foot against the strap. So the hand or hands are pulling the strap forward, but the foot is pushing away from the buttocks, so that you're creating a lot of isometric action here. So work this deeply and patiently. And again, remember, you can completely rest everywhere else in your body. You're isolating the work here in the front of that leg. And when you feel like you've had enough of that, you can gently begin to release the pressure between pulling the strap one way and the other way. Very gently begin to let go and release that leg down. And go ahead and remove the sandal. We're going to do the same thing again. This time, you may or may not use the strap, or you may or may not bring the foot as close to the body as you did the first time around. So you're still going to lie on your belly in some way, and you can support the upper torso and your head in whatever way seems auspicious to you. And then go ahead and bend whichever leg you did first, the first time around. And see what you can do in terms of reaching that foot toward your buttocks on the same side without the support from the strap. You're just sort of testing the range of motion, testing the strength here in your hamstrings and the opening, really a co-contraction, but a lengthening co-contraction in the quadriceps. And then if you would like, and this is completely up to you and what's happening in your body today, you could reach back with the same hand to see if you can reach that foot. And if you can reach the foot, you can use that same opposing action where now the hand is drawing the foot down at the same time that the foot is kicking away. Now you can do this without connecting hand and foot directly, activating that leg at the same time, bringing it closer, then activating it away, bringing it closer. You could also, like I said, attach a strap to create this big opening in the front body here. The other leg is pressing into the floor. And if you've been resting fully down with your head and your torso, see if you can bring the slightest bit of lift into the upper body. And then gently release the foot if you had clasped it. And go ahead and do the other side. You don't have to move like I do. I'm just trying to show you the side that we're on. So start by lifting, bending the knee to bring that foot toward your bum. Just noticing what range of motion is possible here without support. Drawing the foot as close as you can, and then maybe releasing, easing off. Coming in, easing off. There's like no requirement of how close you get to your bum. You're simply working on strength in those hamstrings and on opening in the quads. If you want to reach back and catch that foot, you can. You can draw it in with the hand, but at the same time you kick away. Really finding a lot of engaged action. And then making a decision about where you place the torso and the head. Maybe staying in a lifted heart here. Work compassionately. Work where the pose, where the shape meets your needs. It may be that you're working here, lifting and lowering that leg. It's all good. And then from here, go ahead and release the foot to the earth. And rest for a moment, if you would like. Releasing the head onto the forearms. Taking a breath or two. And then bring the arms under the shoulders and press yourself up so that you can find either your bolster or your big cushion or a couple of blankets stacked on top of each other. So either set up like that, 2 blankets, or the bolster. And then here you will have choices yet again. So work with discernment, work with wisdom and compassion for yourself. Don't even look at the screen and think, oh, I want to do it that way. Really listen to your own body as we work here. You might want to have a strap handy. This time you won't need a loop, and you may not choose to use a strap. You'll just sort of have to see. So have it handy, and then drape yourself over the bolster. So here, your own anatomy will have to guide what feels good for you. But start in sort of a plank shape and let the bolster meet you where it actually supports the weight of your hips. And then you can bring the hands under your shoulders and you're taking almost like an upward dog position here, but you have the support from the bolster. If this is too much, it's also a beautiful way of supporting you in Sphinx pose. And so this might be your shape, or this might be your shape, and this might be as far as you go, right? Is to vary yourself between these variations to kind of test, okay, after a while of settling in, what is possible for my body? If you would like to do more, and it's a big if, so you make the choice, you can reach back and catch your foot. If you can't catch your foot, you reach back and you use a strap to connect to your foot. And then your other foot. Here I go. And this is where your own body will tell you whether you're in the right spot on the bolster. If you let go of your hands and you collapse forward, the bolster needs to go higher up. So I can't tell you where to put it. It depends on your center of gravity. Okay, so you can take your strap and wrap it around your ankles and connect your feet and your hands that way. And just see what's possible for you here in terms of finding an upward shape, right? This is a wheel pose. And again, you might choose not to lift the legs at all and to work in an upward dog or in Sphinx or in a cobra supported by the bolster. If you feel like, oh, I might be able to reach my feet, go for it. Clasp your feet with your hands and let the feet move you back in the same way that we did earlier when we pulled the feet away from the strap. And let that motion, that pulling back of the feet, lift you up any amount. And you might be here, right? And your feet are just lifting you like this. It doesn't matter. It's the action of really opening the front body and using the strength of the back body to lift yourself any amount during challenge. You're lifting your heart in the hardest of circumstances. That's mature emotions. And you're making discerning choices about how you do that. This is a super beautiful expression of that pose. This is an amazing expression of that pose. So you decide and play with this for as long as you would like. Finding your shape of a lifted heart. Yeah, you could do it one-sided, one leg at a time. I see that variation on the screen. That's a really nice decision, right? That's beautiful. You don't have to do both sides at the same time. The bolster is giving you the support so that you can experiment here with what brings you joy in this moment. So I love all the different variations that are on this screen. But the best variation is the one that feels right in your body, right? And then when you've enjoyed enough of this, you can bring the hands under your shoulders. You want to release gently, of course, if you're in wheel pose. Lift yourself back up into tabletop. Slide your pillow or bolster away from you. Remove the strap if you had it, and then gently move into a couple of cats and cows. Just removing any tension from the low back that may have crept in through efforting. And then bring the feet together, but block the knees apart and sit back on your heels. And if you have a bolster or a nice big pillow, bring it out in front of you and lift it up with a couple of blocks. Any height that seems auspicious to you. If that's not high enough, you can add a blanket. So this is a resting shape. So make sure that you really build a compassionate platform here for your torso. And so you're coming into a wide knee child's pose, but it's a nice rounded back child's pose. So you're leaning forward and you're rounding over your setup. And then you relax and release into it. If you have the blocks under here, you might have created an opening where you can take your hands and give your bolster a little bit of a hug. And then you settle yourself in here, wherever you ended up, right? The main thing is you want support under your belly. So for me, I had to slide my blanket down a little bit more. So you have to experiment a little bit. I can't walk around and help you with that. So you have to be your own teacher here to find out what feels restful for you. When your body says, oh yeah, then you know you have found the most compassionate variation of this shape for you. And then reconnect to the breath if you've lost the breath. Concentrating, finding the inhalations and exhalations. At the same time that you feel a sense of spaciousness in your body and in your mind. And you might actually access that sense of spaciousness in your body by breathing into the back body here. Letting the back expand as you receive your inhalations. Feeling the rib basket expand. Feeling the low back expand. If your face is turned one way, now might be a good time to change directions, to stretch the neck the other way. And as you switch sides like that for your face, just make sure that your setup is still most auspicious. Sometimes when we switch the position of the head, we have to adjust our setup to once again find a sense of ease. Let yourself breathe into the back body. Breathing with spacious awareness, with compassion for the hard work that it is to keep our heart open. As you continue to breathe into your supported child's pose. 2 or 3 more rounds of spacious breathing here. And then slide your hands under your shoulders and gently begin to press yourself up. Remove your props to the side and grab what you need for your Shavasana position. So if you want a blanket under the head or under the knees, grab that and have it ready, and then make your journey onto your back. By now, you know what feels auspicious for you here. And check in with yourself. What is necessary for you in this moment to really settle yourself in? Maybe you have an urge to hug your knees. Maybe you have the urge for some gentle rocking across the spine. Or maybe you want a gentle twist to one side or the other, or some windshield wipers or happy babies. These are just some choices that you will make on your own before you settle into Shavasana to release any pent up tension from the hard work that is involved in keeping our heart open. And then whenever you feel ready to settle yourself into Shavasana, please do so. Maybe covering yourself with a blanket if your house has cooled off. Making a decision about whether you will have your eyes closed or at half-mast. Gently scan your body and invite a compassionate breath into any places in your body that need a little bit of attention, a little bit of compassion, so that they too can relax and release. Also compassionately scan your mind to notice what's happening in terms of thoughts or plans or memories or judgments. And invite them to relax and release, to let go. Not chasing them away, but also not grabbing onto them. Not believing everything you think in this moment. Instead, keeping the heart open to the possibility that lifting your heart for the last almost hour and a half will reverberate through your body, your breath, your mind, and your relationships in a peaceful way. Spreading compassion, spreading love, and recognizing joy in the work that's involved to commit yourself to the mature emotions. And then as you settle in, we'll do a silent call and response. So I will out loud say a line, and then I invite you to repeat it to yourself silently, inwardly, if it feels auspicious. May I have peace May I have health. May I have happiness. May I have peace. May I have health. May I have happiness. May I have peace. May I have health. May I have happiness. And then call to mind a loved one or several loved ones. And silently repeat after me. May you have peace. May you have health. May you have happiness. May you have peace. May you have health. May you have happiness. And then call to mind a friend or an important acquaintance that you have an affinity for. And send the wishes to them. May you have peace. May you have health. May you have happiness. May you have peace. May you have health. May you have happiness. And then call to mind your community, whatever community is important to you, including loved ones, friends, neutral people, maybe even some people you're not so crazy about, just your community. And then send these wishes to them. May you have peace. May you have health. May you have happiness. May you have peace. May you have health. May you have happiness. Allowing that mantra to continue to reverberate through your body, your breath, your mind, and your intuition. I invite you into a few minutes of stillness. Gently begin to awaken your senses, to connect to the outside world. Maybe beginning to hear the sounds around you, to detect the gentle aromas in your space. Maybe blinking the eyes open for a moment to connect visually to what's happening around you. And then gently begin to awaken your body with intuitive movements, stretches, wiggles, whatever feels auspicious. And perhaps you invite a conscious breath in and out. And then before you begin to move, plot your journey back toward a seat. And whenever you feel ready, in your own due time, over the next 20 seconds or so, make that journey. Maybe rolling to one side until you find a seat. I invite you to bow your head to your heart. Maybe even now, at the end of a challenging practice, you can get in touch with your lifted heart, your open heart, your heart that carries compassion, loving kindness, and altruistic joy into the world. Your heart that through your resilience can rest in peace and equanimity, regardless of what happens around you and within you. Tapping into your emotional maturity, your inner wisdom, your inner spaciousness. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice. It's an honor, a privilege, and a joy. Thank you.